Says it's behind a paywall.
Okay, that's my problem now.
That's why I just asked you if you would just copy and paste a conclusion in the private chat. That's it.
Again, the conclusion is in the actual study. You got to go through the paywall to get it.
You went through the paywall because you read the study.
I didn't need to go through the paywall to read the abstract of the study, and then also like the.
You read the fucking abstract of the study.
I read the abstract and I read the news article. I'm not going to be buying this particular. I will point out that I'm.
All right. So what was the prompt of this? Does patriarchy help or hurt most relationships? Oh yeah. And by the way, too, when I was watching the debate, I was on the modern day debate side of stuff to see what's going on there. And the Thorpes were in there spurging out in the chat, especially Ben Thorpe. So that was funny.
It's run completely by men is not a patriarchy, sir.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to bite on this. And I'm going to bite on is I'm actually interested to see how you can justify this in any way relevant to the current debate with regard to patriarchy. So
I'm about to tell you,
since you have found a loophole in the definition used, and quite frankly, all definitions have loopholes. Even if you found that, that still isn't. That is not related to the actual debate that is actually happening about patriarchy.
Are we having a debate about patriarchy? Do you agree that the key portion of this debate is asking about the key word of patriarchy in relationships? You agree with that?
Absolutely not. No. It's not about the word. It's about the actual system of power.
Yeah, I understand. But the word is alluding. The word is a descriptor for this.
So I heard that Andrew was trying to get him to define patriarchy, and I guess Brent had a problem with that. They always have a problem when Andrew wants them to define things, but it's because he wants to make sure that they're on the same page here. That's why it's important to get your definition straight. You know, because if you don't do that, then it leads to issues. And then Andrew, sure enough, always later on in the conversation, always goes, see, this is why I wanted you to define it.
Idea of power. You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
But also, the word does not describe your gay Israel thing.
Well, yeah, it describes it perfectly. A system of power in which men hold the majority of political, economic, and social authority.
Good to see you, Shantae. I'm pretty sure Craig engages with the Thorpes because they both have Andrew derangement syndrome. So that's probably why.
Yeah. I'm going to point out, by the way, just before I forget, you were poisoning the well right at the beginning by calling me a communist. Now, I have identified off and on as
a communist.
But not the kind of communist that your audience is aware of, essentially.
I'm sorry. So you're a guy who's identified as a communist, and I called you a communist. I'm way out of line.
Anarchist would be a better term for me.
You mean an anarcho-communist?
Yeah, which is completely different than the.
I didn't say you were a tanky. I said you're a communist. You are a communist, in fact.
Again, this is.
Hey, by the way, what's a tanky? I've heard that that term thrown around. What is a tanky?
Word game. If I'm giving you
I'm playing a word game.
A tradition, a political tradition of philosophy and actually organization that goes back to the freaking diggers in the French Revolution, and then you're coming in here and you're saying communism. Because you think that what you're wanting to do is to tar and feather me with the crimes of the U.
Freaking tar and feather me. By the way, Letty, thank you very much for the $4.99. Very much appreciated. You know, I'm not going to be grifting today. It's already a member stream. I already got your money. If you guys are members, I already got your moolah. But I still appreciate the grift nonetheless. Thank you very much, brother. I'm trying to catch up. What debate between Rob, and Shapiro are you referring to? On Friday night, I believe, on Rob's Friday night stream, what's his face? Brian Shapiro called in and Rob just like annihilated him. So if you go and look back at Rob's live stream from Friday, which is January 2nd, you'll find it there. And also, I got to see this restraining order RV arrest stream.
USSR.
You call yourself a communist, dude.
Again, I have called myself that at times. Yeah, I also work very hard to not always identify with one group or the other because this creates in-group bias and it makes me feel like I need to toe a party line, which is something I will never do.
Okay, fine. Maybe, okay, hang on. Maybe I got it wrong. For sure, I can even accept that. I got whatever your personal politics are incorrect. I can accept that, but that's different than saying I'm trying purposely to poison the well by pointing out.
I would say there was
saying,
no
hang on, by saying the thing that you'd self-describe as. I don't see how that's well poisoning at all. I think that what that's doing is it's framing exactly like I did.
Impression in
No. It's framing exactly what I did. And now we're getting into the meta, but we'll do it real quick. It's framing exactly like I did, that you were going to take this back to the apparatus of the state. And because you took it to the apparatus of the state, which is what you're doing right now, I gave you a hypothetical within the confines of a hypothetical of the state.
Oh my God. Okay. So I haven't actually started a critique of state power. I'm still literally, I am talking to you about a historical reality that comes to us from the Bronze Age, and is used today to basically assign and enforce power.
Yeah, okay. And so let's summarize it. Patriarchy is when men are in charge of shit. That's what patriarchy is, right?
Again, I disagree with that.
Then what is it?
Okay. Do you want to say the word patriarchy, or are we talking about
whatever the hell you mean by whatever you mean by patriarchy, dude? Whatever you mean by that. Okay. Whatever you mean by it.
Okay. Again, you know, I find like the attempt to do this completely specious, and it is definitely
what attempt to do what?
But
I hate it. We like just because. Forgive me. I just
have to pull it in a completely irrational direction.
I do want to.
It's the most rational direction,
gentlemen.
Most rational direction.
I do want to jump in just because it sounded like Brent, like 5 minutes ago before we got on the communist and whether or not it's fair to call you a communist. It was like you were about to engage with it, and I'm.
Oh yeah, that's right. He is a Buddhist communist. I remember he said that during the Lord Jake debate. He's like, I'm a Buddhist communist, and it's like, what? A Buddhist communist? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, I'm the agnostic atheist. It's like, what? People just make up shit now.
Like dying for you to like. I just want to hear you engage with what you said you'd be willing to before we got sidetracked. Before we get sidetracked again.
Okay, so I am willing to engage with the idea that this gay state would be a patriarchy, if you really want to do that. The problem is that when we talk about patriarchy with regards to this particular political entity, it is essentially a argument that means nothing, because let's just say that you're right? Well, then you have found kind of a loophole, as I said, in the definition, which, you know, yeah, okay, I'll tell you what, if you want to say that's a loophole, fine, but let's go back and let's actually talk about real patriarchy and how it is good or bad for men and for relationships in general.
Yeah, but this is why I think semantics are really important in a debate and why they need to get cleared up right away, cleared up so that we can get into the meat of it. I'm willing to cede almost any definition of this that you give me, not to poke holes in the definition, but just so I have something to work with from your worldview that I actually understand. Because the way that I tailored my arguments tonight, this evening, was based around this idea you had in which there was a system of power in which men held the majority of political, economic, and social authority. Now, if you mean something else by patriarchy, hang on.
No.
Mean something
you
else.
Just gave me exactly
if you mean something else by patriarchy, I'm actually happy to dive into that. But if this is what you mean, then I made a compelling hypothetical to ask you if that qualifies as the thing which you sent me, this definition of patriarchy.
So you'll notice it is a system of power, not all systems of power.
Agreed.
So even if we want to say that your gay Israel thing is a patriarchy, fine, but that's not the same as the patriarchy that I'm talking about. That's not the same thing as the patriarchy that every single human being means.
Okay, then what patriarchy?
Yeah, exactly. Then what patriarchy are you talking about, for the love of God? You got to pull out your Chris Farley there. Just explain, give us the definition, for the love of God, brother. Just tell us what you mean by patriarchy.
are you
patriarchy, I wanna
talking
talk
about?
that one, not this imaginary.
Yeah, but see how this is equivocation? Like you keep saying,
Oh
you
my
keep
God.
saying,
It's
I'm
the opposite
talking
of
about this.
equivocation.
I'm talking about this
Dude,
other
this is
patriarchy that I won't
ridiculous.
tell you about. What is this
Look,
other form
Do
of
you want to have a
patriarchy?
real conversation, or you just want to play games?
But I
Bro,
think he's
how
just
am I
asking
not
for a
having a real
definition, though, Brent.
conversation, dude?
Is
I've
me
already
asking you?
provided.
Okay,
James,
you know
I've
what?
already provided
Hang on. Here's my definition of patriarchy,
Okay.
Brenton. Women are in charge of everything. That's
I
my
mean,
definition.
You can claim that that's your definition, but
Yeah,
it has
that's my
nothing to do with the
definition,
debate we're
Brenton.
having now.
That's my definition. And I'm going to, by the way, in 5 minutes, I'm going to change my definition because I don't want you to know what I mean by the things I say.
It doesn't matter. Literally,
Okay, it doesn't matter.
If you want to see somebody engage with this, like with the real actual ideas that are driving our society that you seem to support, you have to actually talk about those ideas. You don't just play with it.
James is even getting fed up too. He's the moderator, and even he's just like, oh, please, dear Lord. I wonder if he's I wonder if he's gonna have Brent back again, especially after this, because this is the same thing I think in like even the Jake debate where he would like go back and forth, change definitions, not define things, and he was ridiculous.
Definition.
Okay, great. I'm not playing with a definition. Just tell me what the fucking ideas of patriarchy are then.
I would say generalized system of power in which patriarchs usually are empowered within society and tend to be the subject of authority within the family.
Okay, so are those patriarchs male?
Yeah, they would by definition have to be. I guess
so men are in charge of shit?
Say what?
So men are just in charge of shit, basically?
It is much more complex.
Where's it going, Keith?
Okay, can we get into the much more complex parts of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, take the United States of America, right? Men are in most of the powerful positions, but they're not in all the powerful positions. So
I'm not saying all, I'm not saying it's monolithic. I'm just saying, okay, so generally speaking, men are in charge of shit?
In general, that is part of patriarchy. It is not all of patriarchy. Things that are not patriarchy can have men in general in charge. But if you want to look at like what patriarchy actually is, you have to look at where it came from, what it's doing, and how it is existing within our current society to decide whether or not this is a good or bad thing. It doesn't matter if the imaginary patriarchy that you have technically fits a definition or not, because that is completely beside the point. The point is this particular system that we have now good or bad in general?
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I got this right, because it did sound to me like you're basically saying that when you're talking about patriarchy, you're talking about men generally being in charge of shit, which fits the definition to a T that you actually gave me. Now, if you want to like expand on this, if there's some more to it than that, I'm actually willing to hear that out before I move into my
3 times.
That you haven't told me anything other than just generally men are in charge of things. If that's the case, then Gaylandia is definitely a patriarchy, right?
All right. So,
like definition,
as I have said, I have told you the specific political movements and social organizational standards that have been a major part of society since the Bronze Age.
You haven't told me any of them, actually.
Oh my God! What
you? Just so you know, you haven't told me a single. You haven't told me a single one. What are you talking about?
Little does Andrew know that, Brent, when he talks about the Bronze Age, he's actually talking about the DC universe, the Bronze Age of the DC universe. That's what he's talking about because he's a comic book guy.
Because everybody knows what they're talking about when they're talking specifically.
Oh, an argument from everybody knows. Everybody knows that. Argument ad populum. Good job there.
Not an argument ad
everybody knows.
That's not.
Everybody knows it. James, did you know everybody knows that?
If anything, it's instead of it being an argument ad populum, it's an appeal to common sense.
No, it's an argument ad populum, or you wouldn't use the word everybody.
Okay, so
everybody knows. You see.
How about you tell me why this gay Israel thing you came up with is good? Because you seem to be saying that patriarchy is good.
Well, I think so. Yeah. That's a fair question, right? I would say the same thing with a matriarchy, right? If you had like, let's say the lesbian colony or something like this, right? And it was like all lesbians in charge of it and this and that, blah, 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 blah. People have individualistic autonomy. They want to make nations and build them that way. I think it's perfectly acceptable and fine. I don't care. It's like, it's completely meaningless. Hang on.
A sniz colony, if you will.
Hang on. Okay. Calm down. Right. I think it's totally like they're autonomous people. They can build Gaylandia, right?
a sniz triarchy, if you will.
The purpose of Gaylandia isn't even for me to ask you if it's good or bad. The purpose of Gaylandia is just for me to ask you if it fits the criteria of a patriarchy or not. That's it.
Yeah. What I will say is, in my opinion, it does not, because the word patriarchy specifically relates to a real thing and not an imaginary thing, like real human relationships.
Yeah, okay, but hang on. Hypotheticals are designed to map on to reality so that you can express
reality.
Yes, it does. If you had like a plague and all the women died, and the men are in charge of all the social orders, is that a patriarchy?
Actually, I would say no, that's not. And specifically because being a man means nothing unless it is in contrast to something that is not a man, which is women.
Wait, hang on. Being a man means nothing unless there's women.
Yeah, specifically, any universal statement about reality is essentially it's essentially vacuous. You cannot know what something is until you also know what something isn't. So if you tried to remove
Andrew's face, that's actually a good point. I could totally see him working at the Ren Fair. Totally see him being a regular at the Ren Fair. Yeah, serving the booze. That's actually a pretty accurate description.
Women from the society, one, being a man would be meaningless.
You would still know what men were, even if there was no women. Because you would know when there was not a man. Because you would know when there was not a man. Yeah, hang on,
You
Brent.
can't run a hierarchy on patriarchs.
Why not?
Specifically, if there are no people who aren't patriarchs.
Yeah, you can have patriarchs and have all men.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You can't actually use that to choose leaders.
Why not?
Because the criteria that you're using to choose the leaders is exactly the same for everyone.
It's not. It's not the same criteria that you're choosing to use for everyone. Well, there's all sorts of different criteria. This guy has leadership skills. This guy's good at wrecking asphalt. This guy's good at this. This guy's good at that. This guy's good at this other thing. There's all sorts of criteria you would utilize to pick leaders. Why would you need women involved in any of this to have a patriarchy? That's bizarre to me.
Because again, you need to know what something is not to know what something is.
Yeah, if there's no man, then I know that that's not a man, and if there is a man, then I know it is a man. You see how that works?
Again, what you're doing here is you are bringing your idea of the world as it is today into your imaginary world.
Like, for instance, Brenton, like, let me point this out. Let's say that there's an asexual lizard, right? Do you not know what the asexual lizard is because there's no female and male lizard?
What? Okay. So you would know that it is a lizard because there is something that is not a lizard.
Right. So if you had only males, you would still know. Hang on. You would still know. You would still know what a man was. Yes.
Okay. Asexual species reproduce without male and female. That's the whole thing. So no, there is no such thing as an asexual being that is also.
They don't need to be asexual, though.
Okay.
So I don't know. What are you talking about?
Dude, okay. So as I was saying specifically, if there is a system that empowers a particular type of person, that particular type of person must be different than the majority of that society.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they would have to have a different sex, Brent.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't mean they would have to have a different sex.
No, but in the context of patriarchy, that's usually what is intended.
No, it's not a necessary conditional. And I don't even see how it would have to be a necessary conditional. So, like, if you would still know what women were, even if you only had men around, right? So, like, let's say, well, you're around women for 30 years, and then you all went and made an all-male 20,000 man colony. Why would that not be a patriarchy?
Because the women still exist. They exist outside of that society.
So what? Why would that be a necessary conditional? I don't get that. That makes no sense to me.
It's a necessary conditional if you are trying to base your society on a particular type of man. And that particular type of man is understood, and men in general are understood by what is not men. you can't appeal to.
So all these men know what not man is.
Okay, so if we're talking about like the men of the specific society, women exist in the world, they just don't exist in this society. They, of course, they understand what women are because women still exist.
Right. That's my whole point. Yes.
What in the world are you even trying to say with that? Then?
That if it's the case that you have an all-male society and there's women outside the gates of this society to meet whatever your threshold is of how men know they're men, yes, why would that not be a patriarchy? That is
not a patriarchy.
Why? Why is that? How is that not a?
This is a recap. This debate was from yesterday. Yeah, this was from yesterday's debate between Andrew and Brent on the Modern Day Debate channel. Hey, how's it going, Rhetorically Defective? Good to see ya. Brent has a humiliation kink. Be easy with yeah, he must, because I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what went into setting up this debate. I don't know if Brent thought he was going to do well here. I don't know, man. But Brent needs to go back to the drawing board on debating.
Patriarchy. That fits every criteria I could ever think of for a patriarchy.
So, any definition, no matter what you give, always has exceptions. It's impossible to state a definition that does not include everything that it isn't, and also includes everything that it is. We know this because of Russell's paradox. So
I'm not asking you for the most thorough definition, which would cover all ground. In this case, I'm specifically stating that this fills all criteria for a patriarchy that I could ever imagine. I actually can't even imagine how you could get to more patriarchy than an all-male society which governs with all men. I actually don't even know how you get closer to it than that.
Because the whole concept of a patriarchal society is rooted in the idea of men and women. So, yeah, it is. You can't have, for instance, male supremacy if there are only men.
Why not?
What?
So, well, yes, that would be
isn't that the
exactly
definition?
What you described.
What do you mean? There would be a hierarchy, right? You would still have
there would
men
be a
oppressing men.
But it would not be based on being male. Specifically.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I got this right then. Inside your criteria, unless women are present, there cannot be patriarchy.
Correct.
Okay. You know what? I'm even willing to cede that point, even though I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but I'm willing to cede it for the sake of the argument that women must be present. So the real reason then you're against patriarchy is because you think that men are oppressing women, right?
No, I'm against patriarchy because I tend to be against archy. That's the whole anarchy thing. I don't think that it's a good idea to force power relationships on unwilling people. I think it is much better to allow people, adults, to make decisions for themselves over who they want to organize with and who they don't.
Okay.
So in general, the idea of an imposed.
But but you realize society organizes itself around men and women because of the strength differential. And that's why patriarchy exists to begin with, and why women actually like patriarchy.
So that ironically is an equivocation.
What am I equivocating on?
Well, for one thing, you're giving one criteria where there's.
I was just going to say, though, it's like, yeah, like. Society organizes itself, even if you were to have, because he's like, well, you know, people should be able to organize however they want. Yeah, but there's no matter what, there's always going to be power dynamics. No matter what, there's always going to be a hierarchy. No matter what, whether it happens naturally or by force, there's always going to be some kind of hierarchy.
A whole lot of other things that society is based on, other than simply men and women.
Well, that wouldn't be equivocation.
I mean, it would be because
I'm not using ambiguous language here.
Okay, so the reason why you're equivocating there is that you are taking the definition of society and you are moving it specifically like to one aspect of it. Well, you're ignoring.
That wouldn't be equivocation. Equivocation would be the use of ambiguous language.
All right, so again, well, you're doing it via language anyway, but that's not the point. The point is that the definition that you just gave is too narrow to be useful.
It's too narrow to be useful?
Correct.
How broad do I need to make it?
I mean, it depends on what you want to talk about.
I want to talk about interpersonal relationships between men and women. Now that we've established from your view, patriarchy can only exist intersexually, for reasons I don't understand. Like you can't have a king or something like that. You're called a patriarch. I don't know,
You
but
can have a
whatever,
king,
whatever
but
it
he
is.
wouldn't be king because
Yeah, I know, but whatever, because you got to have women and Brent and Lengel.
you have to have people that are not part of the power structure for a power structure to exist.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you would just have like peasants and nobles and whatever, but I don't even care about that. I'm willing to just
then the power structure exists, but it's not a patriarchy. It's just because, again, like I said, they're using other criteria than man to give people power. So
no, they would still hang on. They would still be using the criteria of man too. I don't know why man would no longer be a criteria here.
Yeah, it's no
They're
longer
not making dog. Are they making 100 people? Are they making dogs?
It would no longer be irrelevant criteria because 100% of the people would be men. So how do you decide who's more of a man than one over another?
Well, that's patriarchy is not decided over who's more of a man than this guy.
No, but the hypothetical political structure that you suggest with kings and peasants and nobles and whatever, if they're doing that type of hierarchy, they are not basing it on gender because everyone's one gender in the society that you have suggested. So they've got to do it based on something else. Now, it could be blood, though if it's an all-gay society, probably wouldn't last very long. It could be...
Hey, is that an AIDS joke there, Brent? Is that an AIDS joke?
Whether they're part of a particular religion or not. But the power structure itself has to be able to pick out elite individuals within that society and give them power, whether they are actually elite or they are just appear to be elite.
And so if, let's say we had a society that had 10% women, could that be a patriarchy then?
Yeah.
Then assign themselves policy or powers?
It could be.
Just one woman?
Just one? Oh, you're doing the issue with the fallacy of the beard. So if you're going to sit there and you're going to say, like, how many...
Wait, what's fallacy of the beard? Is that an actual thing? I'm going to look that up. Is that an actual thing or is that a Brent Lengel term that he just came up with? Fallacy of the beard. Oh, no, not bears. Beard. Fallacy of the beard. Let's see. Also known as the continuum fallacy, Sorite's paradox fallacy, or fallacy of the heap, is an informal fallacy that occurs when someone rejects a distinction, category, or a boundary just because there exists a continuous spectrum between two extremes and no precise, non-arbitrary cutoff point can be defined. How many hairs do you need to lose before you're bald? There's no exact number, so there's really no such thing as baldness, essentially. I get it. Okay, all right. All right, Brent, there you go. You taught us something.
How many women does it take
or taught me
before
something.
It becomes a patriarchy? How many grains of sand make a...
I'm just looking for a threshold. You can just say, I don't know, but it would take more than that. That would be fine with me too.
Okay, I don't know, but it would take more than that, and it's impossible for anyone to actually...
Okay, I understand. I'm just fleshing the view out so that I understand it. So moving into this non-patriarchal all-male society, which isn't a patriarchy, by definition, because you need to have women around for some odd reason. What if women get positions of privilege inside of this society that they want to keep, and in exchange for that, they give men authority?
Okay, so that happens in like our society right now. You said that at the beginning that you think that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't see why that would be disqualifying of patriarchy.
Okay, great. So then, if women want these positions of privilege, they want them, and they say that they want them, right? And they're given them, and men say that they want authority, then what's the problem here?
The problem specifically is that the authority is being given out based on irrelevant criteria. If you put people in charge, you want to make sure the people you put in charge are actually good leaders. And you don't pick actual good leaders by just looking and going, oh, that's a woman, that's a man, man's the leader. Also, I feel like you're kind of universalizing with regard to like all men want authority. I don't want authority.
No, I'm not. I'm giving a generalization. Yes, you do want authority. Like, for instance, you want authority over your children, right?
No, not at all.
What?
So when you say, little Tommy, don't stick your finger in that light sock, and he's like, I'm going to do it anyway, Dad. You don't want to have authority?
Again, that's not going to happen. But my point is,
it's not going to happen. Wait, yeah, what? Brent's obviously not a parent. So, but that's also another like lefty thing that they'll do. Like when you get them into an argument, they'll just brush it off by saying, well, that wouldn't happen. Well, says who? Says you? Like, you can't just brush it off by saying, well, it wouldn't happen. Like, what do you mean? A kid would never try to stick a fork or something into the light socket? Kids do stupid shit all the time. That's why it's important for parents to watch their kids, because their kids are always doing stupid shit.
What do you mean? Yes, it is. Your kids are gonna like get into the shit under the sink and do stupid kid shit like every kid does. What do you mean?
I have a kid. I know what you're referring to, but the point is that
you want to have authority over them so that they can't do that stuff, right?
I am in the position of a steward.
Hey, good to see you, Rachel.
To, I guess
he actually is a parent.
As a steward,
that's so wild. Yeah, then yeah, he would obviously want authority over his children. I don't know what the heck he's talking about there. That's ridiculous.
Do stewards have authority? Brent?
Temporarily.
Oh, okay. So they have authority because the person they're a steward over has some privilege from the steward.
So again, yes.
Yes.
But that's not the same thing as someone wanting authority within the context of men and women within society.
It's the same exact thing. If women are willing to cede, so you have one of two options. If we want your egalitarian fantasy, we could do that. But women have to see.
Have I talked about egalitarian fantasy at all?
Well, yes, actually, you did. What you said was that you thought it would be better if women went ahead and selected for this and for that and blah blah blah.
I did not say that.
You did.
I said in general.
Yeah.
People will do what they feel is in their best interest.
Yes, and so if they feel like having female privilege is in their best interest,
and therefore, specifically, you don't need force to identify a particular leader, because people will follow the leader voluntarily. Once you introduce force into that equation, the only reason you're doing that is because if they were left to their own devices, they would not.
People also follow a leader involuntarily.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm talking about. That's bad.
Why? Yeah, but I mean, that's just a statement, though. That's not an evidence of thing. It's bad. Is it bad because it's bad, Brent? Is it tautologically bad? It's bad because it's bad?
Because it tends to result in negative outcomes for society and especially for individuals within that. It's usually not a good idea to oppress people. They don't like it, and then that can lead to resentment, discord, and violence.
I see. So to get this right, then, let's assume for a moment that you could remove the female privilege barrier and just equalize things between men and women tomorrow. You could just I don't know how you would do it, but you could just equalize it somehow. Would you do that?
No.
What?
So you would leave the patriarchy intact?
Again, I am not someone who is vain enough to think that I know what's best for absolutely everyone all the time. So I have ideas.
But that would leave the patriarchy intact.
If people decide that they want to voluntarily
this guy's all over the place,
I'm fine with that. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go in and tell somebody else how they need to live their life. They need to live their life in a way that makes sense to them. So again, like
excuse me, Wi-Fi. I resent that remark, huh? When did Cool Vic debate Andrew? Yeah. Good to see you, Emmett. Good to see you.
The idea that people are inherently power seeking is, I would say at least it's an overstatement, if not an outright false.
No. It's just men, when asked if that their preference is to be in authority when it comes to relationships, the answer is yes. And when it comes to women, when they're asked if their preference is that a man is in authority, they're in the relationship, their answer is also yes. I don't know what you want me to say here. That seems like the most compelling proof you would ever need of anything. And that's by the way, that's the overwhelming majority.
I'm not even sure what you're trying to say with that. Like,
I'm just confused because on one hand, he doesn't want to force things onto people. Okay, so Andrew's saying, well, if they're the two parties are willing, then what's the problem? And Brent's trying to say, well, there's a problem there. It just seems like it's another one of those things where it all boils down to, well, I don't like it, and therefore it's bad.
Where are you going with that? What does that have to do with anything we're talking about?
Women want men in the relationship to be in charge, and men in the relationship want to be in charge.
Oh, boy. Okay, again, that's not true. There are men.
Would you like to look at the polls with me?
So what is true for some, the rule does not prove the exception.
Well, we're talking in generalities here. I'm not talking in monoliths. I'm not saying every single human being. For instance, there's vegetables, who, I don't know, maybe they were married and they no longer want to be in charge because they're now vegetables. Or perhaps we're talking about people who just, don't have any adherence to that. I'm not speaking monolithically. I'm talking in generalities, right? Society, when we're talking about societal prescription, you're talking in generalities here.
Okay.
Not monoliths.
So my question here, specifically, as we're talking in generalities here, why is it generally a good idea to place men into positions of authority and not women?
Because men are expected to sacrifice for women and not women men. And this is due to the... Can you hang on? Can you hang on so that I can explain the position? Okay. When the Titanic's going down, Brenton, who got on the boats first?
Women and children.
Why? Why?
Probably because society identifies males traditionally as protectors and the doers of violence.
Would you consider that a female privilege that they were able to get on the boats first?
I mean, it's a privilege in the sense that it's like a fringe benefit for being part of an otherwise oppressed class.
Okay, so was it a benefit to them?
I'm sure, yeah.
It was a benefit. It was a benefit to them. So the thing is that that's a position of privilege. And so what happens is this: because men can withstand conditionals that women cannot, and they have much more physical dominant strength, you end up in a position where women have to adhere to men for personal protection. They have to. There's no, hang on. There's no way around it, Brent. There's no way around it, Brent. There's no way around it.
So even if we say that, at the moment when you're talking about physical prowess, well, then why isn't the frickin' Rock president? Specifically, if you want to use criteria for leadership.
Yeah, what? I was like, wait, what? First of all, yeah. Wait, what? So is The Rock the most physical, I say, like the strongest specimen ever? But it's because we don't govern the society that way. We vote people in.
Use criteria that is relevant to that leadership, and in my opinion, gender. I
didn't say leadership. I said authority. I said authority.
Authority to wait. Sorry, say that again.
Authority and leadership are two different things, though they go hand in hand often. Authority does not necessarily relegate to leadership. There's a certain amount of authority which is imbued in men in society because men are expected to do things on behalf of the weaker sex. They're considered the dominant sex for a reason. And women actually prefer this because they get privilege. They get privilege from this.
You say that women...
Well, that's what the polls show. Women generally prefer to have men in these roles of authority and leadership. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, what I would tell you is that even if that were true, you were talking about bandwagon fallacy earlier, it wouldn't mean that was necessarily a good thing. It would just mean that...
well,
here's why I think it's a good thing. I
just feel like he's all over the place with the whole, because he keeps he'll be like, well, I don't want to impose anything onto people. But then when Andrew brings up scenarios, okay, well, both parties want this. Then he's just like, well, I still don't think that's a good thing. It's like, well, what is it? Do you want things forced onto people, or do you want people to do what they want? It doesn't make any sense. Again, it just feels like it's just all to his preferences. Like, I just prefer if there wasn't a patriarchy. I just think personally it's bad. Patriarchy bad. And even if both parties wanted it, it's bad.
It's a good thing because of what I call force doctrine. You see, force doctrine works like this. Women always have to appeal to men for their rights. Men never have to appeal to women for their rights because they can take rights by force. I have the entire historic standard behind me for this. Women have never one time physically fought anything ever for rights. Never. They've never physically done it. They've never been able to overthrow an oppressive class.
Wait, hang on.
Hang on.
There's overthrowing.
Can I make the damn point and then you can respond?
I mean, you can. It doesn't have anything to do with anything we're talking about, but sure, go on.
It does. What? Here's why it's a good thing. Okay, ultimately, because it's the case that they have to appeal to men for their rights. They have to. There's no choice. If men want to take their rights tomorrow, they snap their fingers and women have no rights. My proof, half of planet Earth. right? Your proof, nothing. My proof, half of planet Earth, they
Okay.
snap their fingers,
So
women have no more rights,
what
and therefore
okay.
women have.
Brent immediately being the comic book guy. I'm surprised he didn't just turn around and go, "Oh, snap your fingers like Thanos, huh? The Infinity Gloves." I'm surprised I didn't excite him right there.
No more rights.
Even if women would have to appeal to men, and I don't think that's true. Also, I think there are plenty of women warriors throughout the human history. I mean,
No, there isn't.
Yeah, I read books about it, like Wonder Woman, first edition. They came from that what is it, Amazon? The what was it, Thymyscira, whatever the fuck she came from. That was a whole area just full of women, and Wonder Woman came from there. See, Andrew, there you go. See, you might want to study up on your books.
Look, Ludmila Pavlichenko, she killed like 300 fascists, more than 300 fascists during the siege of.
You mean the famous sniper?
Yes.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Brenton, but all of the Soviet propaganda that came out about their female snipers was proven false. Almost all of the kill counts, almost all of the kill counts were wildly inflated as part of war propaganda.
I wouldn't be surprised, but even one disproves your argument.
No, it doesn't.
There is a female sniper.
It doesn't. It still doesn't disprove the argument. How would it just?
They always appeal to like, oh, just because there's this one example or there's two examples of women being girl bosses, therefore it just disproves the rule. And it's like, no, it just proves that there's exceptions to the rules. Even Brent said that earlier. There's loopholes to the rules, which I think is another way of him saying exceptions. So yes, just because there are exceptions doesn't mean that therefore the rule doesn't exist.
Prove the argument. How?
Specifically, you're giving me that.
Is Polachenko going to take on the entire fucking male patriarch and give women their freedom?
My point,
women have to do that collectively, and they can't do it collectively against men.
I mean, they can. Just again, what we're talking.
They can't. It's not. They can't. I disagree. They can't do it. They physically are incapable of overthrowing with force males. They're physically, they can't do it.
Then what if every single woman in the world
my Wonder Woman
and every single man in the world didn't have a gun?
We would still win. We would still win.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, yes, we would.
My God.
Brenton, hang on.
Okay, well, what about female cops? Female cops have guns.
Actually, I'll help you with this. I've actually heard this argument. I think it's a fun one. But here, do you agree with me that just loading and operating firearms has a requisite amount of strength required to do so?
I would say that it does, but also women have the requisite amount of strength.
Yeah, have you ever seen one load a handgun magazine before?
Different magazines are.
What does it look like, Brenton, when a woman's trying to load a handgun magazine?
So again,
Brenton, what does it look like when a woman's trying to load a handgun magazine?
Anything.
Because what I'm saying to you is that the strength requirements for you to carry weapons into battle, carry around the type of equipment that you would need to do that.
To the men who don't have any guns.
Yes, the men who don't have. This is. Oh, okay. Well, because female cops.
My point is
female cops are overpowered constantly. 3 to 1.
I want to jump in. We can talk about this. We can talk about this if you guys want, because I do want to give flexibility on where we go, but I also still want to draw us back to the central question of patriarchy's helpfulness or harmfulness.
Brittle, thank you. Yeah, because he was getting destroyed right there. He's like, thank you, James. Woo. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like, yeah, female cops have guns and they get overpowered all the time.
Society.
But even if that were the case, like, let's say women were to take over, I mean, it wouldn't be possible, but they would still need men to like assemble the guns and operate the heavy machinery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So because men are in the protector position by necessity, I think it's good that they have authority because they need to exercise the authority to protect women who by necessity need them to protect them. Okay. That's why I think that's why I think it's good.
Right off the bat, you're saying that they need to have authority. Now, let's say that they do indeed need to have authority. There are ways to have authority that are outside of patriarchy.
Like?
Democracy, for one.
Democracy would not be giving men authority.
I mean, if people voted to give men authority, then yes, it would.
But okay, hang on. Then it wouldn't be a democracy anymore, right?
No, it would still be a democracy. They were just voting
just only
particular sex into power for whatever reason.
Okay, wait a second. Hang on. Let's just make sure. Hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. If democratically men are voted into positions of power and all of the positions of power are held by men, you don't consider that a patriarchy?
It could be.
So then what you're saying is that women should vote in patriarchy to give men authority to protect them?
I'm saying that what you were describing again is a ridiculously narrow way of thinking about these things. Now,
you keep saying that as if it means something.
If you want to really talk about this,
I am really talking about this.
Okay, so if you want to really talk about this, for instance, why is it that men are 350% more likely to commit suicide?
Because they go to war.
But most of us don't go to war.
And most of the men who are killing themselves are not men who didn't go to war.
Okay, so there are plenty of men who kill themselves who are not actually veterans. So
that's true. And there's two contributing massive. Hang on, stop, Brenton. You just made a point. Let me respond to it. There's two primary reasons. Okay. One of the main reasons is divorce. Another big reason is PTSD. That accounts for a large percentage of why you see so much more. I can pull the figure for you, but it's more than 50%. Sure.
Please. All right. So first off, there's that. Then what we've got is specifically of that 350%, the 3.5 men who commit suicide for every one woman who commits suicide. 240% of them are the ones that identify with patriarchal gender norms. So if they're killing themselves,
so estimates suggest up to 54% of suicides. Hang on, I just want to make sure I got this right. 54%, somewhere around 54% would include a combination of PTSD and divorce.
Okay, so PTSD does not simply come from going to war. There's a million reasons why somebody could have PTSD.
No, I'm disassociating them. That's just PTSD specifically from war and divorce.
Okay, so you're saying
now listen, I'm going to be completely charitable here. This is just the cursory thing, right? I'm not saying that this is a hard fact. I'm willing to be fact checked on this. I'm willing to be corrected on this, right? Because it's just cursory what I had in front of me. But I've looked at this figure before, and I remember it being the majority was accounted for through divorce, and post-traumatic stress disorder was a major contributing factors for why the rates were so much higher.
I mean, again, even if that is the case, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was, that doesn't necessarily mean that that kind of damage is coming from the military and war specifically. And in fact, I think there's a higher rate of PTSD among veterans who don't see combat as distinct from those who do. A lot of the time, I think people have described it that combat is a release, whereas it's actually like daily military life that oftentimes.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that the types of PTSD victims that we're talking about here are the types of PTSD victims who don't see combat. I don't know for sure, but what I'm saying is that the accounting for why it is or why it would be that these rates are higher could easily be connected to the fact that these sexes go through much more traumatic experiences, or at least much more difficult to process traumas.
Yeah.
So I'm confused, but was Brent just saying there that, like, okay, if a man just serves in the army, they're going to get PTSD more from the lifestyle of just being in the army than actually seeing combat? Now, listen, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but I'm going to have to just, like, logically thinking, just disagree on that. I mean, the reason why people who go into war, I assume you come back with PTSD, is because when you're actually on the battlefield, you're seeing a lot of horrific shit. Like, you're seeing people die everywhere, you know? Sometimes like your friends dying, and then you're trying to dodge like gunfire yourself. You're trying to survive yourself. Highly stressful situation. And I got to imagine it has to be mostly from the combat stuff. So I don't know what he's talking about there, but again, maybe I misunderstood his argument. But I don't think that most men are just getting the PTSD just from being in the army itself and the lifestyle of the army.
For instance, I would assume for women like that SA victims probably have a higher propensity for suicidality than other.
How's it going, Scott? I think it's because maybe it might be because this is a members only stream. So maybe that's what's going, because even on my StreamYard, I can't see how many live viewers I have, but I could see it on my actual YouTube hub right here, how many live viewers I have. So that could probably be it. PTSD from non-combat. Also keep in mind when you are faced to work through trauma, it's better for you in long run. Those who serve next to those who fought typically have guilt, not PTSD. That's true too. People have no idea what the horrors of war actually are. Yeah, no, exactly. I can hardly wait for you to get to the part where he admits that he didn't even read the material. The way Andrew laughs is hilarious. Nice. Well, I can't wait for that part either. Hopefully it comes up soon.
There's a lot of individual circumstances that can lead to something.
We're like almost an hour into the debate. So do you have an idea of when that comes in? Because I would like to see that.
Higher suicidality percentage. Good thing you brought up the military specifically. It wasn't until recently.
But what's the point here? Let's get right to the point. What does this have to do with what it is we're talking? Yeah, okay, men kill each other more, or kill themselves more than women. And the other thing is, by the way, I'm going to point this out to you, Brent.
Yeah,
this is the funniest fact about all of this. It's actually the case, right, that men and women try to unalive themselves at about the same rate. It's just that men are better at it
more often,
and they succeed more often, but they actually try to unalive themselves at a higher rate. The reason I don't actually make the claim that they do, or I don't believe that they actually do, is because I don't think that those women are actually trying to. I think it's a cry for help. So I just like remove that and just to be the most charitable that I can possibly be.
Look, that whether that's the case or not, that doesn't matter for my argument specifically. And even if you're going to talk about the military, okay.
And by the way, isn't it disingenuous of you, if you knew that, to make the argument that men unalive themselves more, even if you knew the rates were exactly the same?
Hang on. I didn't make a disingenuous claim, and I did not say that the rates were exactly the same.
Well, they're on
the rates
par
are the
with
same.
each other.
I am aware that women attempt suicide.
Let me see. I think non-combat / service related PTSD is from potential accidents. There's a streamer that has spoken about almost getting electrocuted while working on airplanes. Ah, okay. All right. Great movie recommendation, 2,000 meters to Andrivka. You see how the horrors of a real-time war. Oh, okay, nice. I got to check that out.
Side, but are generally do not actually wind up dying as a result.
So it's just one more thing men are better at than women?
Well, men tend to choose more violent means.
Yeah, Dave, that would actually be great.
Because women aren't really trying to unalive themselves. They're trying to get a cry for help, right?
I'm not going to go and imagine women have a hive mind and they're just like doing it to, to act out. It doesn't matter why they would be doing it anyway. What matters specifically is that the conditions that drive the higher rate of male suicide, and even among men, those who are more patriarchal, who report that they speak with like way more gender norms, those people in particular are dying at a 240% rate.
What is that? Hang on. But what does that mean? What are you talking about here?
Okay, so for every one successful female suicide, 3.5 men die as a statistic fact. So 3.5 men attempt suicide, they die.
But women, almost as many women have also attempted it.
Yeah, they may attempt it, but they don't actually die. You got your speculation.
So you don't believe? So you don't believe that they're actually trying, or do you think men are just better at it?
Again, I think that's way too. It's not a relevant thing to think about.
Okay.
To this, because people are products of their surroundings.
So what is the relevant thing? Patriarchy is making men unalive themselves at a higher rate.
I would say,
even though they both attempted at the same rate.
The social forces, well, yeah, because again, men are supposed to be more violent and they choose more violent means, and that just means that they're more likely to succeed. So
wait, what?
Yeah. What? Yeah,
that makes no sense. I thought you just got done telling me women have just as much access to firearms as men do. No, they just choose not to use them.
No. That is a straight up lie.
Well, what does the means of the unaliving have to do? Like, what does the method of the unaliving have to do with the higher rate? The more violent ways. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to unalive yourself, you're going to unalive yourself. That's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what method you choose. It just means that men are more likely to follow through with it than women are. That's all that means. It doesn't matter the method.
Gave you specifically another hypothetical situation.
It's not a straight up lie. They have just as much access. They go to a gun store tomorrow and buy the same gun you buy.
They could, but they don't.
That's right. They don't. But they could. So that it makes me think that the attempt maybe is not as
Men are more
I guess I would
incentivized
say
to own and use guns. You use guns yourself. I know you like to go hunting a lot, right?
so.
So that's a stereotype.
How are we incentivized to do that?
Stereotype.
What incentives? Like, do I get a flyer in the mail that says, "Hey, man, go hunting"? Like, what the
I
fuck are
would
you
say
talking about?
that
What's the incentive?
There's about 6 different like major male subcultures, but one of them is like the outdoors and hunting subculture. It's very popular.
The male archetypes Brent's going through. The hunters, and then there's what the comic book guys like Brent.
Among men, and it's seen as a, you know, in general, as a manly thing.
Yeah, and women don't do that shit because they have no interest in it, right?
Women are not incentivized to do that shit because they're told by the rest of society that they don't have an interest in it.
Who's telling women not to go hunt? You?
I would say, who indeed? I would say it's the social system.
What social system? That's just some nebulous claim.
I mean,
I've never
no,
actually
the
heard
gender
one time
stereotypes
somebody
that we
say
have,
women are not to
specifically-
hunt.
I
When
would
have you
say,
ever
no,
heard that?
honestly, it's patriarchy, because the gender stereotypes that we have are inherently tied into patriarchy. So that's going to guide people as it's, you know, what I would say is the over.
Yeah, can you explain? Yeah, I understand the statement that you're making. Patriarchy is making it so women feel disincentivized to hunt. Fucking how?
Is it like the feminist argument where they say like, well, it's because of how culture is and how we program people and we have the gender norms. That's what's making women not want to go into, you know, CEOs and all these other fields that they normally wouldn't want to go to. When in reality, it's just women are just interested in different things than men are. That's just the bottom line. We're just biologically different that way.
Oh,
yeah.
Because they're just disincentivized to do violence, and they're disincentivized.
Yeah, that's just you making the same fucking claim. How?
What do you mean how?
I mean, how? What is the methodology in which the patriarchy is disincentivizing women from buying an '06 and killing a deer? What is the patriarchy doing here?
The issue again is that when I'm talking about the patriarchy, it's not like
it's a nebulous concept that you never actually explain.
System of power. It involves humans as its like component pieces. But the point is that if you have,
I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to go check out. Thanks, Dave, by the way, for doing that. To see 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
I use logic.
Love of God, man. Like
There's
you don't
be an opportunity. I hate to interrupt, but we have a lot of questions.
Why should I adhere to empiricism, especially on this topic? When the idea here is that when I logically demonstrate a thing for you, you agree with me? Why do I need to provide studies for a thing you agree with me on?
Okay, so the issue when you make a logical argument as opposed to a argument, an empirical argument, logic can like flow properly, but it doesn't always work as well.
Neither does empiricism.
I mean, it's the same thing with the freaking economics, the science of economics. You've got the Austrian economists that rely entirely on praxeology and inductive.
All right, has the Q&A already started here? Is this the Q&A? Let me see.
Okay, that's my problem now.
That's why I just asked you if you would just copy and paste a conclusion in the private chat. That's it.
Oh, here it is.
Again.
Okay, yeah, here it is. All right, let's see this.
Suicide as established procedure was replicated, gender attitudes and behaviors.
Is this it?
Okay, here we go. In which a single latent probability variation identified as male was generated from 16 gender discriminating variables, including not crying, being physically fit, not moody, not emotional like yourself, fighting, and risk-taking. So specifically, they are taking ideals that we have within patriarchy.
No, it's not saying that. That's not what that just said. It didn't say anything about taking ideals within patriarchy. It said that men...
It is an ideal that men, for instance,
are taking more risks.
It
doesn't say that.
Part of the architect.
Read it again. That's not what it said. You're fibbing again. Read what it actually says.
I'm literally reading what it says.
Good, then read it out loud so we can hear it.
Not crying, physically fit, not moody, not emotional, liking yourself, fighting, and risk-taking.
Okay.
So they are using specific responses, and they're correlating it with suicide data. Now, again, this points out that there is a very high likely causal correlation between people who identify with traditional masculine values with regard to suicide, a 240% rise. Again,
no worries, Dave.
They speak specifically about men who have identified in a poll, specifically the 108 men, those who identified more patriarchal values.
208 men.
108.
Oh, 108 men.
Yeah. It's
massive sample size here.
Yes, exactly. And I said in my opening that that's a small sample.
Yeah, that's not a strong correlate then.
Oh my God. Okay. So
oh my God, nothing. That's not a strong correlate.
Okay. So again, it's a small study, but that's not like that.
It's not a strong correlate, bro. Come on, you can't possibly tell me that you did a subsection of 108 men, and that's a strong correlate between patriarchy
I literally
and suicide.
said it in my opening. Were you not listening to my opening statement? Jesus.
Then why would you present this as evidence?
Because it is evidence.
It's not. It's the weakest evidence I've ever seen. Your idea here is that a cross sectional of 108 people. And you're going to attribute that to patriarchy?
Again, it is a cross-section of 108 heterosexual men, and those who specifically identified with more patriarchal values are the ones who also said they were more likely to also report lower levels of relationship satisfaction. And I even gave you the researcher's interpretation in my opening.
Yeah, so, can you just copy and paste the conclusion of the study and post it for me?
The study is in there.
Yeah, I can't actually.
The only one who brought any studies whatsoever to this.
You didn't bring studies. You didn't even read them. What are you talking about?
Oh, God, yes. I read as much as I was able to without having to pay the damn.
Yeah, without having to pay.
It's a perfectly normal thing for human beings to do. And oh, my God. Dude, that is the most forced laugh I've ever seen.
Yo, bro.
No, that is forced. That is not genuine mirth, my friend. Look, again.
Dude, that is a genuine laugh because that is utterly ridiculous. This dude, he's like, yeah, it's behind a paywall. And Andrew's like, well, yeah, can you just, post the conclusion in there? Because since I can't access it. And he's like, well, I didn't even go pay for it. I just read the abstract. It's like, what? And then he claims, well, I'm the only one that brought a study. He's like, no, you didn't. You didn't even bring the study. You didn't even pay for it. The study, you brought the abstract, dummy. No wonder Andrew's laughing his ass off. It's freaking ridiculous.
I am the only one who brought any studies here.
You didn't bring any studies.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You brought an abstraction from a study that you didn't read.
So
that had 108 as a cross-sectional.
The Springer. And then second of all, the JAMA, and second of all, the Springer is also reported specifically in the media. And I'll tell you what, I can grab the actual news article from that as well, as you seem to think that I need to download this.
Oh, great. So I get to read somebody else's interpretation instead of the study itself that you didn't read.
Oh, my God. No, because they're quoting the people who did the study.
That's nice. But without you actually getting into the methodology, what they actually were utilizing,
no,
you didn't read any of this.
Methodology of every
yes, you do.
Study.
You do in this one. Well, you're linking this to patriarchy, and this doesn't say the word patriarchy anywhere in it.
If JAMA is specifically lying and putting out research, that is going to be a huge red flag.
I didn't say that they're lying about anything. I didn't say they're lying about anything.
Impact factor, I believe it's.
And I'm not saying that they're lying about a thing. They published this study that you didn't read. That's not saying what you claim it does.
As much of the study as
it's not saying that patriarchy causes anything. It's not claiming that at all. It's only claiming that in this small cross-sectional, tiny 108 men, they found a very weak correlate between these things. And by the way,
there is a direct quote in the. First of all, that's not a weak correlate. Again,
that's a weak correlate.
Confused with the size of the study versus how strongly or weakly the correlation exists. A weak correlate is
a correlation between 108 people as a sample size and 330 million people as a sample size is pretty fucking weak,
that's
bro.
Not, again, that's not the correlation that they're looking for. The correlation would be between the people in the study and the outcome of the study. So
how did they adjust for things like military service? How did they adjust for other factors like upbringing? What were the controls of this study?
There is an infinite number of things that you could do to get more information into a study, no matter what.
I'm just asking what the controls were.
And you would be saying the exact same thing if they had
just asking what the controls were of the study you didn't read.
Again, like I said, if you want to see the controls, go in there. If you want to take it up,
you mean if I want to read if I want to do your work for you and read the study you didn't read?
If you want to say the stuff
you want me to do the work for you, read the study you didn't read? Yeah, exactly. This is embarrassing, man. And then they get mad at Andrew because they get destroyed. This dude couldn't even pay for the fucking study and read the study himself. He just, well, I got the abstract here. That's good enough. Maybe Andrew could go through the study for me and see if I'm correct or not. It's like, then why are you here? Why are you here? Andrew might as well just debate himself then. By the way, MMA fighters, yes, I good to see it, by the way. Yes, I did see, because I was hanging out in the modern day debate chat, just seeing what was going on. So I totally saw Ben Thorpe and his goons. Yeah, totally. I saw his goons, the Thorpeites, if you will, totally in there trying to troll Andrew, and him and Grace, I believe, are both in there. Ben tried to super chat him questions. Grace did too. And I think Grace, like, you know, they super chatted him questions, and then they're like, see, totally owned Andrew. All the Crucible crew is seething because of the things that I sent him. And it's like, no, dude, no one gives a shit, man. You just are two more people that have Andrew derangement syndrome, the AIDS. That's all it is. You guys are just obsessed with this guy.
They reported isn't real, then take it up with JAMA, take it up with the freaking reporters.
Wait. You don't know exactly what the study says because you didn't read it.
Because you don't have to if you've got an abstract.
No, you do have to.
You have to in the sense that if I'm going to be quoting from a particular part of the study, I need to actually get it from them.
The study that's not at all about patriarchy.
And I took it from the news article.
Yeah, what does this have to do with patriarchy again?
I'm sorry, what?
What does this have to do with patriarchy?
Well, if you look at the article here,
yeah, post the article. Let's read the article.
Yeah, here we go. The Madonna whore dichotomy: men who perceive women's nurturance and sexuality as mutually exclusive, endorse patriarchy, and show lower relationship satisfaction.
This is the Jammin Network.
No, this is the Springer article.
Did you link that for me?
Again,
did you hang on? Did you link that? Yeah, you linked it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
So again, you do not have to go and like read the entire study to know what they're saying. That's what the abstract is for. And if you want to go in and see like more information without having to pay additional stuff for it, because honestly, I don't think there has been a good faith debate from you at all at any point in this night.
Cope.
Just go online, grab the freaking article that has it from Science Daily.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one who's bad faith. You brought studies you didn't read, but hang on, let me just go ahead and look at the abstract.
Studies, one I read, one I read as much as was physically possible to read. I'm not going to go in and start paying for stuff when I'm talking to an absolute clown.
Wow, dude. The cope is freaking real. Well, I'm not going to pay for this if I'm just going to debate with an absolute clown. Well, maybe it would have helped. Maybe it would have helped. You could have completely destroyed this clown here if you would have actually done some actual research, paid the money or what have you, and actually done the research, you know? But so this dude gets called out. And now he's coping and seething over it. And again, it's Andrew's fault somehow. It's Andrew's fault that Brent didn't want to do the research. Why take the debate against Andrew then if he's an absolute clown? Why even bother taking the debate if it's a waste of your time? You just ended up wasting everybody's time.
Anyway, my point being with regard to these studies.
Wait a second. Hang on a second. A positive association between MWD endorsement and patriarchy?
Yeah, specific the
Wait. What is MWD endorsement?
The Madonna and whore dichotomy. Specifically, they're talking about how men who have traditional gender roles in mind have difficulty and again, I brought this up in my opening, have difficulty seeing women as anything other than this particular binary. The women who have sex a lot are bad. The women who don't have sex a lot are good. So then they marry the person who doesn't have sex a lot, and suddenly they have trouble having a romantic relationship with them compared to others. Or, you know, they're in a relationship with someone that they're extremely attracted to and does have sex a lot, but then they don't marry them because they have this perspective that is just simply not true.
Okay, let's dive into
probably like
relationships are inherently
like a feminist article.
And this actually goes back to what I've been trying to talk about this entire time, and that's the bed of Procrustes. We have these assumptions that are baked into our culture from the Bronze Age, and they are not serving us. So what's happening is that people are trying to map their lives onto these particular ideals, and that is a big reason why patriarchy is a problem. At least patriarchy as we currently have it right now in the world. Now, if you want to say that in an Islamic society, it has more patriarchy in it, but they have different outcomes, there's a number of reasons, a number of confounding factors that could reasonably explain that. My supposition in this is that they're under greater stress, as I said, and it's a bit counterintuitive, but specifically with regard to being under greater stress, people tend to actually report higher mental health outcomes. And again, that tracks even with when we were talking about the military. There's a higher rate of PTSD among people in the military who do not see combat than those who do see combat. Because, you know, I suspect it has evolutionary roots with humans when we feel under a direct threat to life and limb.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull up the information on this. Again, that one was paywalled too. Did you actually read that?
That's an article, Science Daily.
Yeah, but what it links to is paywalled.
Well, it links to that article.
No. What's linked in the article? Yes, it links to the study.
Yeah. So
which we can't read.
Well, again, you can read the abstract and you can read the article where they quote the actual people doing the study.
Yeah, again, but we don't have any actual information here is the problem.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Gosh, this dude. That would be like he's asked to do a report and it's like, and then the teacher's like, did you actually read the book? And he's like, well, I read a summary. I read the back of it. And she's like, well, you have to actually read the book in order to know what it's talking about. And he's like, no, you don't. Just give me the A. Like this fucking guy, man. Sorry, maybe if it was in comic book form, he would have fucking read the study.
One, the information is in now. There, you want more information. If you want more information, go and.
Well, I want information that proves the claim.
Okay, what would you take as information that proves the claim?
Well, for one thing, the article, for instance, mentions the patriarchy. You agree with that, right?
I agree that patriarchy exists.
No. I asked you. The article you linked mentions patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
How come the study doesn't?
Right here in the title.
How come the study doesn't?
The study does say patriarchy.
Where?
It's in the okay.
It's behind the paywall.
It is literally in the title of the article.
So, yes, the article says it.
No. It's in the title of the freaking study as well.
Which study? Well, which study are we talking about?
I read this to you. Men who perceive women's nurturance and sexuality as mutually exclusive endorse patriarchy and show lower relationship satisfaction.
This is in the second study.
It's in the second study in the very first title.
Okay, hang on. I got them untangled now.
Dude, I told you this once.
Now, the second study, you read that study.
No, I read the first study that I gave you in full. I read as much as I could on the Springer study, which means I read the abstract and I read the reporting around it, which has direct quotes from the people who are working on the study.
I understand now. So I was looking at the second study in lieu of the first for the word patriarchy. Got it. Now at least I understand.
Yeah, now the word patriarchy is directly in the title.
Yeah. I understand that now. I get that. But here's my problem, right? My problem is you did claim you read the first study.
I read that one.
Okay, in its entirety.
What
was the methodology that was used in that study?
Say what?
What was the methodology used in that study?
I literally just quoted it to you.
No, you didn't quote the methodology.
Yes, I did specifically. Well, you were asking yes, directly here in methods. That's exactly what I did. Death by suicide was defined by the National Death Index procedures through the use of method novel to suicide research. An established procedure was replicating for scoring gender-typed attitudes and behaviors in which single probability variables of identifying male was generated from 16 gender discriminating variables, including not crying, physically fit, not moody, not emotional, liking yourself, fighting, and risk-taking.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What does any of that have to do with patriarchy, though?
Because the people who identify more strongly with the patriarchal ideal are more likely to engage in certain behaviors. And then that eventually, because they are engaging in these certain behaviors.
But that in the methodology is not the claim that's made. It's just claiming it's claiming that men who engage in what they consider these toxic behaviors to be, their risk for suicidality may increase, or their risk for this may increase, or risk for that may increase. Doesn't actually link it with patriarchy at all.
Oh my God.
Don't say, oh my God. I'm correct. It doesn't link it with patriarchy
does
at
men
all.
being warriors, is that patriarchal? That men are warriors?
Well, no, you could have warriors in a matriarchy.
Okay, but I didn't say that. I didn't say that is it exclusively patriarchal. I said, is the idea that men are warriors part of patriarchy or not?
Not necessarily, no. You could have a patriarchy with no warriors.
Of course it is. Good Lord, man.
It is?
Well, what if you have a matriarchy that like uses male warriors, though? You could have that where women are running things, and then the men that are warriors, they're the ones that are like serving the matriarchs. You could have that. Doesn't mean that just like male warriors doesn't just mean patriarchy.
Yes.
Why? Wait, hang on. I just want to make sure. Hang on. I want to make sure then that we got this right. Patriarchy is not indeed then the idea that men are in the political power or social power, right?
Again, I gave you an umbrella definition, and there are a bunch of things that factor into that, including the stuff that you said you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Which you didn't talk about.
Now I got, hang on, Brendan. I'm just untangling it. I want to make sure I got it correct. Okay, so
no, you don't.
Yes, Brendan, I've been so good faith this whole. All I've done is let you talk and tell me what you think.
Has not been because you wanted to talk about freaking.
Bro, all I've done is untangled your view. So now that I got it, now that I understand it all, right? All I need you to do is tell me what the fuck this has to do, this study, with patriarchy. What does it have to do with patriarchy?
Generates values within the society. You know this.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it
doesn't. Why does it have to generate these values in society?
Because that's
why couldn't you have a patriarchy that had none of these values, bro?
Okay, so again, men as warriors, it's a common ideal within patriarchal culture. You know this.
I'll just granted. Yeah, sure. Warriors inside of society.
That is one. So when someone expresses that within a study or within a meta-analysis, that will then push you towards a greater amount of greater amounts of patriarchal ideals that person probably holds. So, you know, regardless, a lot of different people are going to have different responses. But the point is that when they identify themselves as being more into traditional masculinity, which is part of patriarchy, when they identify themselves as, you know, with regard to violence, not crying, not moody, not emotional, that kind of stuff, this leads to negative health outcomes for the men who do that.
Okay. In this small sample size.
In this small sample size, but actually this one is much larger. This is I'm talking about the JAMA one right here.
Okay, the JAMA one.
Yeah. The small study specifically dealt with relationships within the context of romantic relationships. This one deals more with like patriarchal attitudes overall.
Got it. Okay. So now that I think I let you get your entire view out there, you agree with that, right?
You let me get out as much as I care to at the moment.
Okay, great. Then I let you do that, right?
I like how Brent is the one getting fed up. I'm getting fed up listening to this guy. This guy's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I now speak without you filibustering and interrupting.
Oh,
and
good
things like
God.
this.
Well, right there, you're poisoning the well, but I'm sorry, continue.
I just want to make sure that I can. So here's the thing.
You are free to do whatever.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that cracks me up about this.
Okay.
I'm actually willing to grant all of this. I'm willing to even grant that there's negative social issues which can come from patriarchy. That actually doesn't give a compelling argument for why we should abandon patriarchy. All it does is say that there's even if I grant every bit of this, Brenton, and I'm willing to grant that in some circumstances, there's negative outcomes that happen inside of patriarchy. Just like all social statuses in society, there's give and takes. Hang on. Stop, Brenton. I literally just asked you if I could at least speak without you interrupting me for 5 seconds.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
I'm not allowed to. Not allowed to, though, right,
we'll come right back to you, Brenton.
Not allowed to? Okay, so anyway, here's my point to you, is that even if I grant all of this is true, it actually doesn't give us a compelling reason to abandon patriarchy. All it would do is give us adjustments where we would say things like, okay, maybe men should cry more, or maybe they shouldn't engage in what you consider toxic behavior to be. It actually would not give us any compelling reason whatsoever to abandon a system of patriarchy. Not a single one. Not a single compelling reason to abandon this entire system based on the fact that you think men need to cry more or a few other of these characteristics, even if it led to higher rates of suicidality. For instance, I'll give you an example of this. I believe in the Second Amendment and gun ownership, for instance, okay? I think that the offset of human beings being able to protect themselves is worth the negligible consequence of people also using the same firearms to unalive themselves. I consider that give and take to be socially acceptable and reasonable and rational, that if I can have 100 million men who are capable of protecting themselves and defending their families, the offset for that, which is that some small, tiny, infinitesimal amount of these men may use these for bad or nefarious purposes, kind of willing to say, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm willing to do the exact same thing here with patriarchy. Even if it's the case that there's some of these behaviors which are a side effect of this, it actually doesn't demonstrate why we should abandon the entire system. Why should we?
This debate about abandoning patriarchy in its entirety.
Well, it's about whether or not it's good for relationships. I'm not going to, even for relationships, why?
Yeah, the whole debate is whether it's good or not for relationships. That's what it's about. Which means is it good? Which means should we do it or not? That's the whole point.
We abandon it because men need to cry more?
Again, I'm not talking about abandoning patriarchy entirely.
So there's good aspects of patriarchy in relationships?
Yes, I said that directly to you. Were you listening?
So then if that's the case and the debate is whether or not patriarchy is good or bad for relationships, it seems like you're ceding that it is.
I will say that patriarchy can be good for relationships. And again, this is why I use the definition of patriarchy that I had and why I specifically said with the title of this debate.
The definition that wasn't important.
Oh my God. The definition is important. You playing a game with the definition is not important.
It's not me playing a game, making sure we don't equivocate because I knew you were going to go back to the definition.
Look, I don't want to relitigate that. My point is that what you have just said right there, I don't even necessarily disagree with anything you said. Yeah. But that's not what this debate is about.
It is what the debate's about. It's about patriarchy in relationships. And the thing is now we're into the give and take mode, right? If it's the case that the case that you're ceding the point that patriarchy in relationships actually can be good, and I'm ceding the point also that patriarchy in relationships can be good, then hang on.
Patriarchy is not one thing, and there are certain things about patriarchy.
Okay, stop equivocating. We're talking about patriarchy in relationships, right?
As to in most relationships.
In most relationships.
Yes, is patriarchal, and I'm giving I'm giving you data. And then I'm also giving you
the data does not show that patriarchy is not good in most relationships. It doesn't show that.
In the sense that if these studies are if these studies are representative, then yes, and we can assume at least at this point that they are representative.
No, we can't assume that at all. You just made it up.
Yes, because
why should we assume that they're representative?
Because both of the outcomes of each study reinforce each other. And not only does that happen, but
so what? That wouldn't mean that this is a representation we can expand to the rest of the population. That's crazy.
Look, you can go and you can say, okay, I want more information. I want to do a larger study to make sure that this study is correct. That's perfectly fine. But that's
no.
Is,
you can demonstrate that these studies show that patriarchy in most relationships is bad. That's what you can fucking do. So do it.
Calm down.
Do it.
Calm down.
Anyway,
do it, Brenton.
I have said specifically.
Do it. No, Brenton, show me and demonstrate how these studies represent that patriarchy in most relationships is bad.
Okay. So again, I'm not saying that patriarchy as a whole.
No, Brenton, what's my question? What's my question, Brenton?
Your question is you're telling me to demonstrate that it's bad in most relationships.
Dude, no. I'm asking you to show me how these studies prove that it's bad in most relationships.
They prove in the sense that they specifically show that people who have more patriarchal attitudes have worse relationships, both in terms of their romantic relationships and their relationship with their own life.
They don't show that most people have bad outcomes or bad relationships due to patriarchy in the relationship. They absolutely do not show that, do they? They absolutely do not show that in most relationships.
You can make that exact same argument. There's what? How many?
What's the debate about, Brenton?
You have to be able to take
what's the debate about, Brenton?
You have to. So okay.
Brenton, dude. It didn't even come prepared, and he's the one that's getting all upset at Andrew. He's the one that's like, oh, Andrew, how dare you call me out on my lack of preparedness? Yeah. Brent, I don't think there's any hope for Brent at all. Oh no, Brenton is being toxic. He said, calm down. He's being toxic. Yeah, I know, right? It's impressive Andrew went this long before he finally got fed up. Yeah, I know, right? Having been around a ton of Hispanic families, the women love patriarchy in relationships. Yeah, that is true. That is true. All right, let's see. I ended it there for the clipping purposes, but let's continue watching.
First off, that is how statistical analysis works. You always take a smaller sample size than the total population.
That's great. And you can take this smaller sample size and demonstrate for us how this is true of most relationships.
Again, I said specifically that if you look at the findings of both of these, they back each other up.
So what?
Say what?
So what? That has no bearing on anything. That has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. It doesn't imply shit.
It implies that both of them are correct.
It doesn't imply at all that patriarchy in most relationships is bad. It doesn't even attempt to make that implication.
Okay.
It doesn't even try to.
So I am using it to establish facts that I am then using to back up my argument, which again exists directly in my opening statement, which you have not done anything with. Specifically, I said that the idea, for instance, that men need to be in charge is a bad idea.
Why?
Should I just reread this?
Yeah, because you're going to defer back to your studies that don't demonstrate that.
Yeah.
And, all right. So I've just finished talking about the studies where I'm talking.
Yeah.
About
do you see what I mean? Like you keep on deferring back to the thing that doesn't demonstrate
we had the studies of this kind, and before feminist discourse entered the online culture war, we had something better, namely noted soy boy beta cuck George Carlin, who identified something we are all well aware of, and he called it the male disease.
So argument at George Carlin.
What is the male disease? It's being full of shit. Male disease includes the need to be in charge at all times, in charge, in control, in command. A real man.
Argument at George Carlin,
captain of the ship. So what's happening?
So we should defer to
George Carlin fallacy.
George Carlin made a very good point, and I think that it's important to bring him up because we also have.
I may not have read the studies, but I did listen to George Carlin. So
all this heady feminist.
And actually, I didn't even see the whole George Carlin special. I just watched a clip, a clip on TikTok.
Analysis that mainly exists for people within.
Through the idea of standpoint theory, where they rewrote history. Great. But the thing is, it's really funny about this, Brenton.
Point is that
help me out here, though, Brenton. How do these studies demonstrate that patriarchy is bad in most relationships?
Because they provide evidence.
They don't provide evidence that patriarchy is bad in most relationships. They don't provide that, Brenton.
They showed that identification with patriotic ideals in both of them resulted in negative experiences with
fucking what? That is not evidence at all that in most relationships, patriarchy is bad.
What would you take as evidence?
I would take evidence of, well, let's see. Let's start with this. You could logically demonstrate it to me. You could use a massive meta-analysis that had huge sample sizes that demonstrate this. You could use all sorts of different methodologies.
Logically demonstrating it to you, and you
okay, give me the logical syllogism for it, or the logical argument.
Okay, so what's happening here? Well, first of all, we've defined masculinity as domination. We're telling men that they have to be in charge regardless of the circumstances.
No, that's not what nobody ever established that.
I will say that what's established there specifically is that one of the major patriarchal values is leadership.
That's not, no, that's different than what you're trying to smuggle in there. We did not, you and I, establish that patriarchy is men are in charge no matter what.
Okay, again, I'm not saying that men are in charge no matter what. I'm saying that what we have done is we have tied someone's masculinity to them being in charge.
We don't do that either.
You can't argue with that.
Yes, I can argue with that. No, like, oh, I have a boss, so I'm less masculine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have a boss, so I'm less masculine.
Well, yes, but that's
what? Wait, what?
You were less masculine than your boss, but that's not.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking.
You're less masculine than your boss. By that logic, then, like, let's see, the mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, he's more masculine than a lot of men, and I think we all agree he's not. But by his logic, because he's in a position of power, he's the mayor. Oh wow, he's masculine.
Talking about the gender ideals that are culturally transmitted to members of society by the social structure of patriarchy. One of these ideals is that a man should be in charge. And I don't think that that's something that anyone would actually argue with. In fact, you were specifically talking about why it's a good thing that men are in charge.
No, I was saying that it seems that women's preference is that men are in charge. And here's my data. Here's my data on that. Would you like to see?
I just love seeing freaking Brent spurg out, man. Every time he just, oh man, I just love seeing him seethe over here as Andrew just wrecks him.
Because I know that look, it doesn't say one or the other for my argument that that women think men should be in charge or not.
Okay.
My argument is that there's only so many people can be in charge. The vast majority of people, including the vast majority of men, will never be in charge and are not in charge.
I agree.
So what happens to those men when you tell them to be a real man, you must be in charge, and they can't be in charge?
Well, you seem to be eliminating the entire middle part of this, which is the idea of hierarchies.
Hierarchies, actually. That would be an actual fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, so the idea exists of hierarchical structures. So while I agree that most men will never be on top of a hierarchical structure, most men are going to be part of some kind of hierarchical structure. Yeah. They're going to have duties associated with them that they're in charge of.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And guess what? That seems to correlate with massive amounts of satisfaction.
Most men are going
Most men do occupy the position where they're in charge of something. You're in charge of this machine. You're in charge of this floor. You're in charge of this. You're in charge of that. That's all authoritative.
So that giving someone a duty is not the same thing as being in charge.
No, but putting them in charge of their duties is the same thing as putting them in charge.
Oh boy.
Look, oh boy. Argument from oh boy.
So would that be an argument from oh boy?
Argument from oh boy.
That would probably.
I like how he's actually thinking, is that an argument from oh boy? Look at you, and James is laughing. Oh my god. Is that an argument from oh boy? He was actually trying to think, oh wait, is that one of the arguments from, is that a fallacy there? The oh boy fallacy?
Oh boy. Argument from oh boy.
So Would that be an argument from
argument from
I would say
boy?
that would probably at the moment me expressing consternation at your complete inability to actually engage with anything.
I'm the only one engaging
it's not
right
an
now.
Argument. It's just it's just me getting a little.
Listen, I'm engaging right now. I'm telling you right now that if you have a hierarchy and you have authoritative duties for a person, that is authority. That is relegation of authority. That's exactly what being in charge is.
If we say that a duty is authority, and that the fry cook in charge of the particular part of the fry stand is that is not what most people would consider like a masculine ideal. That is
that's exactly. Listen,
job.
Well, here's what people get praised for masculinity in society is things like you take good care of your family, you go to work every day and you work hard, you do a good job at your job, your boss gives you praise and you get attaboys, right? It doesn't matter if this fucking guy goes and sweeps floors for a living. They're usually pretty highly praised within society for doing these things.
Okay,
like, what the hell are you
society
talking about?
Actively hates fast food employees. That's just like true.
Yeah, but not because, hang on. Not because of those value structures, but because they're dumbass kids who can't put mustard on your fucking cheeseburger.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, oh my God's not an argument.
Again, I'm not trying to make an argument there. I am expressing consternation with the argument that you're
I'm expressing consternation towards your consternation.
Okay. You have a giant consternation.
Was it appeal to old boy? What was it?
We'll
just at each other for the rest of the night.
Honestly, there's more content in that than freaking gay Israel. So, all right. Specifically, when we're talking about the hierarchy, the masculine ideal is to be at the top of that hierarchy.
Yeah, this dude, it's like he's struggling to make these arguments. That's why he has to close his eyes. It's like he has to concentrate, you know? He's like Professor X there, you know? But instead of trying to read all the mutants' minds in the world, he's instead trying to make some kind of freaking argument. And the best he could do is, but George Carlin, my abstract. But yeah, you know, the best that he could come up with is just, he's just, but George Carlin, my abstract. My and my what is it? Pulling a lie out of thin air takes a lot of concentration. Yeah, exactly.
Hierarchy.
No.
I mean, no, yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I would say literally nobody. Okay, let's say having a high position within that hierarchy.
Part of masculinity is rationality and reason and being praised for the ideas of rationality and reason. And the thing is most rational people, most rational people understand most people are not going to be at the top of hierarchies, including other men. And most men don't hold each other to account because they're not on top of the fucking world. That's not how it works. Most men consider it highly praiseworthy to go to work all day. What are you talking about?
For this. What I'm talking about specifically is that the patriarchal attitude towards male leadership goes very wrong because it tells a bunch of men that they should be in higher positions than are physically possible.
It doesn't do that. That's just a claim. It definitely doesn't. And you definitely saying something definitely does something definitely doesn't mean it does. Okay. That's definitely not true. Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
I guarantee you, every single person who's listening to this,
guarantee.
There is absolutely no chance that you don't know what I'm talking about here. And there's also zero chance that you don't know what I'm talking about here, Andrew.
I think that all you have done is taken some fucking weird, I don't know, maybe some red pill ideology or some shit, where they're like, you got to be on top of the world or something like this. Human beings and human men,
you actually hit
hang on, stop, bro, stop, hang on.
Yeah,
most men do not judge each other on whether or not they're fucking CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. That's not the values they're looking for.
I literally said this doesn't apply to all men in my opening statement.
It doesn't apply to almost any. It applies to almost none.
All right.
So how could they be the values of masculinity if almost no men are following them?
Let's take the red pill thing, like you said. You know, I would say charlatans like Andrew Tate are absolutely taking advantage of men, of a level of men's humiliation.
Is this what it's about? Is it about my Andrew Tate? Andrew Tate, bad. You know, that's it's always with their Andrew Tate, my Andrew Tate.
And emasculation for not being high on the
Do you think
hierarchy.
Andrew Tate thinks that everybody's going to be at the top of a hierarchy? Literally, his message is the opposite of that.
Andrew, no. The fact that they cannot occupy the top of the hierarchy creates resentment in them. It creates resentment. It creates self-hatred. Like Andrew Tate, take advantage of that to have a
Look,
career
I'm willing to grant there's some men, right, who get incorrect messaging, and they think that they need to be at the very top of the hierarchy, or they're not going to get any respect or this or that because they have deep insecurities or very
like Wes Watson's, you know. Yeah, like there's Wes Watsons in the world, definitely, but it doesn't really prove his point. Those are the exceptions, not the rule.
various other things. I agree with all of that. I'm not even going to dispute that because it's true. There is some level of that going on. But for the vast majority of people, that is not the case. Vast majority of men who follow traditional masculine values, the traditional masculine value is not, I have to be at the corporate top of the CEO. Traditional masculine values usually revolve around Christian ethics. That's what makes them traditional. And so what are the things, hang on, stop, bro. What are the things in traditional masculine values? What would be a traditional value in the United States would be based around the idea of the Christian ethos and Christian ethics. Those things value what? They value charitability, taking care of your family, going to work every day, right? Taking care of.
I wonder what he's going to say against Christianity. I wonder what this motherfucker is going to say about Christianity, because I'm just waiting for it.
Your community, those are things which are considered virtues, and virtues are what's tied with masculinity. And even in modernity, this is the case. I don't know, like for the overwhelming majority of people, it is. The idea of the Christian ethos that men are the sacrifice, that they need to sacrifice themselves first for women, but the exchange that women are going to be submissive inside of the relationships and marriages. They get the privilege because men get the authority. Those are the traditional masculine values, not this idea that you have to be a fucking CEO of Fortune 500. And by the way, most of these red pillars, I know a lot of them. When you talk to them and have a conversation with them, they know that the overwhelming majority of men are not going to be in these positions and don't even preach they will.
Again, that wouldn't matter one way or the other.
It matters. Yes, it's the crux of the whole argument.
We started to approach an actual point here, though. And you've identified some parts of patriarchy that, of patriarchal archetypes that are positive, or at least can be very positive. But then you also, for instance, appealed to this unwritten alliance between men and women, where women trade submission for privileges. The thing is that one, nobody sat down and signed that. That's never been actually established. It's not a real agreement. But let's just say
most social agreements aren't.
I know,
yeah,
which makes it difficult to talk about. But which is
doesn't make it that difficult to talk about. Like we can objectively see these things in real time, right?
We can
look, I'll give you an example. You go out to dinner with a woman. Who's paying?
I'm sorry?
Who's paying?
Who's paying?
90% of the time.
Well, I think you guys discuss it. I think both the men and women discuss who's going to pay, and then or they put in 50-50. I wonder if he's going to say gay shit like that. Actually, I think both should pay. Probably going to say some gay shit like that.
No, sorry. 95% of the time. Yeah. Men are expected to pay. That's a part of female privilege, right? The idea when you go out and dating and courtship, men are expected to pay. That's part of female privilege. That's part of the things you can objectively see about the privilege status of women.
I don't disagree that I wouldn't so much call that female privilege. If you want to call it that, I think
it's female privilege, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I think a better description might be concessions.
It's female privilege.
You're saying that women have to agree to male domination.
Also, what's the other thing?
They have to agree.
Women enjoy being pursued. They're rarely ever the pursuers. That's part of the social, unwritten social.
I mean, it's unwritten, but women already unknowingly agree to this arrangement, whether they know it or not. Even feminists out there that's tries to be the girl boss, even they will still appeal to men. Even they'll hide behind men when they're being attacked or something like that.
Social rules that we've had for centuries that women are the ones who are pursued. In fact, it's almost 99% of the time men who are doing the pursuing. Yeah. And it's the same. And by the way, all stats bear this out. This isn't even controversial. They almost always do the pursuing. That's another form of privilege, right? They usually have many, many more male suitors than males have female suitors, right? Which puts them in a position where they can be much more choosy when it comes to partners and things like this. So ultimately, it's like,
yeah, that's true too, Emmett. Yeah, talk to my daddy. Yeah, why don't you talk to my daddy first? Yeah, like Sarah. Yeah, the ultimate. Or she's not the ultimate feminist, but she's a feminist there. But even she's like, oh, you have to talk to my dad. You have to talk to my ex-husband. You got to talk to Dusty.
They're
Again,
in positions.
I'm not arguing that women don't have things that you might consider privilege. I would call them concessions simply because they come about as a result of the women being in an inferior position in terms of
in an inferior position because they're less strong and have to rely on male dominant strength to protect them. That's why.
Okay, being physically less strong does not, in our modern society, actually make you more powerful.
Yes, it does.
Literally, it does.
Yes, it does.
Okay, then why the frick isn't The Rock our president?
No.
What the heck is with this Rock as president?
Again with this silly argument. We're talking about collectives here, okay? Not seeing, like, there are women who could beat you up. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They can kick the shit out of you, right?
Yeah.
But do you agree that there's way more men who can? Hang on, stop, bro, stop. Do you agree that there's way more men who can? Way more.
I do, but what I don't
like an overwhelmingly larger
amount. I don't agree with is that this results and implies that it should result in political power over women. Your ability.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that the reason the social hierarchy exists, where women are in a position of privilege and defer to men, right? And claim that they want to defer to men is because they want to continue to keep that privilege and they want men to continue to protect them. They want men to continue to protect them.
I think that that's overly simplistic, but I won't say that it's not true.
It's true.
The issue, however, is even if that is the fact, that doesn't actually say anything about the desirability of patriarchy, or at least in terms of
if women want to keep the privilege and want men to be in charge, then it does allude to the desirability of patriarchy by both sexes.
How's it going, man?
But then you got like female genital mutilation. You know, if you go to certain countries in, I believe, Africa and the Middle East, you know, there are women who believe that, like, and agree with the fact that, you know, horrible things be done to their genitals.
Yeah, and
let's see. If we treat women as harshly as men as a whole, this is represented in law application and enforcement. Yeah, no, if people will uproot society if we treat women as harshly as men as a whole. Yeah, no, exactly. And women don't like it either. Like, you'll see women nowadays, like, post up videos, like, you'll see them standing up in a subway train and they're like, none of the men stood up for me and offered me a seat. It's like, well, that's what you wanted. You wanted equality. People don't stand up for men and offer men seats. You know, that's what you wanted. You wanted equality. So then when we give it to them, they're like, well, I don't like standing up in the train. And so, yeah, this is why women also prefer the patriarchy. They are trading in, you know, things for duty, for privilege. That would be sweet, though. Yeah, it would be sweet.
Who are you to tell them that they shouldn't do that?
I'm not.
Give me your seat, lady.
Yeah, I know, right? What's the problem? It's their preferable state, and they want patriarchy. What's the issue here?
I would say the problem is.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you, Nate. Yeah, dude, this guy's totally like a male feminist, dude. It's just, it's sad. It's pathetic.
Is that they materially, they materially damage themselves in such a way that it actually likely shortens their
life.
A
trans person.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Yeah, sure.
So trans people shouldn't do that, right?
I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I am saying that just because someone
it's bad over there when they do it
doesn't mean that it's good.
Oh, I see. So hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. Then you're not saying it's actually bad that these women who love patriarchy, I heart patriarchy, and then mutilate their genitals are actually there's any problem there. There's no problem.
I'm saying that there is no rational connection between them, between a person, woman or otherwise, agreeing with something and having that thing actually be materially good.
Like when they so I get this. I understand.
All right. This is on Modern Day Debates channel. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, did you enjoy that video? I hope you did. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, or else you're gay. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just trying to save you from sin. Also, make sure you catch the Cool Stream live Mondays through Fridays right here on my YouTube channel, and make sure you follow me at any of these links down below for everything Cool Vic.